gracias. Vamos a la playa. En el nombre del Padre, el Hijo, Espíritu Santo. That's all the Spanish I know. It is great to be here in Barcelona. Thank you for coming out. I've had so much fun here in Spain. I love Spain, or as the Spanish call it, España. I think it's strange that we call your country a different name than you use. That seems rude. I come from España. Oh, Spain, huh? It is España. I like Spain better. You wouldn't do that to another person. Hey, my name is Bob. Nice to meet you, Sam. I just said my name's Bob. You look more like a Sam to me. Sammy! And it's not just España. It's got that eyebrow over the N. España. And I asked, I was like, what's that eyebrow? And they're like, that's Enya. I'm like, the Irish singer? I guess I've never really seen a photo of her. Sail away, sail away, sail. Barcelona, part of Catalonia. I knew about the regions of Spain. I didn't know that there were so many of them. I got here, 17 autonomous regions. Now, I don't know how many autonomous regions is a lot, but 17 feels like too many. It's like, are you guys getting a divorce or something? Your mother and I have agreed to see other autonomous regions. 17? Like, do some of these regions even know they're part of Spain? We haven't told them yet. We want it to be a surprise. The Spanish, of course, had this great empire, right? Right near in Barcelona is where Columbus left, right? The Columbus, made a deal with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. He's like, I'm gonna find a shorter way to India. And he got lost, and he found the Western Hemisphere. So he's a hero. And I gave him a statue where he's pointing the wrong way. As a result, the Spanish colonized half of the Western Hemisphere, right? They went there and they found all the gold and they brought it back, which brings up the question, what'd you guys do with all the gold? Because I've been all around Spain. I don't see any gold. I don't even see things you could buy with gold. What happened to the gold? I want to know. I love the Spanish. They're very warm and friendly. They're very tactile. They're always touching you when they talk to you. It feels like a pre-assault situation. How are you? I'm married. You Americans are so uptight. I feel like such a prude here. Like, if I ask for directions and while you give me those directions, you feel the need to touch me a couple times, I assume you're a prostitute. Yes. You'd think with so many autonomous regions that you guys would understand boundaries. How about you think of me as an autonomous region and not grope me? Spain is home of the siesta, and I'm a nap taker, so I've always felt shame about napping. I'm like, oh, I'm lazy. But now I realize I'm Spanish. Ole. I wish I was Spanish, right? Because then I would have like one of those long last names, where it's like a combination of the mother and the father's last name. So my name would be Jim Gaffigan. This man is an idiot. He is not the siesta. The siesta, of course, it's no longer practical, but I do admire how the Spanish still have pride in the siesta. The siesta, we came up with that. That was our idea, to do nothing. That is our thing. Traditionally, it's from 2 to 5 p.m., right? Seems like the idea of someone who has a massive hangover. It's like, hey, you know that time, like, from lunch to dinner? What if we took a nap? What if we took some aspirin and napped? We could do that. Of course, there are benefits of a siesta, right? People are more alert. It improves your memory. You get a couple hours where you're not groped. I think it's interesting how the Spanish, you guys defend the siesta. Like there's a justification. They're like, well, the siesta, our lunch is the most important meal. I'm like, it shouldn't take 3 hours. You know? That is the hottest part of the day. I'm like, well, there is air conditioning. I mean, just not in Spain, but there is air conditioning. I've been in Spain in July, and I feel like you guys are undecided about air conditioning. You're like, well, do we need air conditioning? I mean, the roads are melting, but do we need it? We'll deal with that mañana. Yeah, we don't need to figure that out right now. This guy's a jerk. I don't know. It's supposed to be a short nap, right? It's supposed to be just 20 minutes. Short nap. Everything's small here. Small nap, small food, small cars. You guys can't commit to anything. I love Spain. It's a little louder here, a little noisier. It's very loud. And I'm an American. I come from New York City. I have 5 young children, and it's quieter there. It's like, I don't know if this entire country is filled with deaf people, but I see you sit across from each other and yell at each other. I'm like, settle down, everyone. Settle down. Apparently because of the noise, the news that smoking is bad for you hasn't come up here. Maybe someone should yell that out. I feel like you guys are smoking like it's actually good for you. You're like, yeah, you work out, I'm smoking. Woo, woo. Nailing it. Speaking of loud noises, I saw flamenco, which was so impressive. And I tell you, after like 10 minutes, I was like, I've seen enough. It was truly impressive. It was very impressive. But you know, there's all the clapping and the stomping and the snapping. It's like a competition who can make the most noise. It's like, what about this? What if I did this? I wouldn't even have to open my mouth. It's very sensual flamenco. Halfway through the show, I got pregnant. It was no smiling though, right? Always. It's like all I can think is they're like, my feet hurt. My feet really hurt from that. Flamenco. So different from fado, the Portuguese fado. I love talking about Portugal and Spain because the Spanish are always like, where's that? I'm like, it's next door. Is that one of the autonomous regions? No, it's not. It's a whole other country. But fado is different, you know, like flamenco is energetic and loud and almost angry, whereas fado is sad and melancholic. It's sad, it's very fado, which means fate. It's like, and the Portuguese love it. It's like a whole country that's really into the band The Cure. They love it. Fado, which means fate. Fado, it sounds like a guy. It's like, I saw Fado. He seems depressed. It was Saudade, which means longing, but it sounds like how a drunk person would say, so sad. As a father, he was sad. Very sad. Yes, son. That doesn't make sense. But it's interesting, similar to flamenco, there's like dinner theaters of fado. I don't know how that would even start. It was like, hey, Grandma, you know that song about Grandpa drowning? What if we sang it at the restaurant? Because, you know, when you eat, you want a sad song. Have you decided? Yeah, I'm going to have the cod, and can I have the song about missing Lisbon? Oh, that sounds great. Valencia, I started my tour in Valencia, and I had paella in Valencia. Well, I ordered it. It never showed up. You know, it's like, how long are you supposed to wait for food in Spain? Like, do Spanish waiters think people in restaurants don't want to be bothered? It was like, it took 2 hours for the paella in Valencia. To be fair, you know, they probably had to grow the rice. And then they had to cook it on that pan the size of a manhole cover. Like, does the paella pan have to be that big? Here's your paella, it's bigger than your table. I don't know. Valencia, they're very purist about their paella. They're very purist. That is not paella. That is not paella. And wherever you go to eat paella is the wrong place. I would never go there. I would never go there. You're like, have you been there? No, I've never been there. You have to eat paella at lunch too, right? Like if you eat it at dinner, that is not paella. Paella is only at lunch. This guy's impression of Valencians is way off. There's some debate about the origins of paella, right? Some people think it's from Catalonia, and some people think it's from Valencia, and they're different styles, right? In Catalonia, the paella has like all the sea monsters mixed in with the rice, with like a witch's wooden handle storing it. And then in Valencia, they have like delicious things like snails and rabbit and other roadkill. But who was the first to overcook rice? We don't know. We don't know. And sadly, we may never know. We may never know. Valencia, I had horchata, I don't know. Horchata, which is this refreshing white liquid that after I drank it, they're like, that's made from tiger nuts. I didn't know there were tigers here. And they're like, no, it's a nut that looks like a tiger's nut. Doesn't make me feel better. Valencia, they have the fallas, right? The fallas, which is, it's a festival honoring St. Joseph, and how they honor him is they dress up in old-timey clothes and burn things, because nothing says culture more than lighting things on fire. Hey, you know how Hitler burned a lot of books? What if we did that of images of people that are still alive? We could do that. You know how like they protest in the Middle East? What if we did that as a festival? There's also in Valencia, there's the Tomatina, right? The Tomatina, which is a festival, which is just a tomato fight. And I was like, I asked, I was like, did this start? Like, was there a saint that was killed by tomatoes, or Saint Tomato of Bob or something? And they're like, no, it was just an old guy threw a tomato and we turned it into a festival. I'm like, is that how all festivals start here? It's like, you know what? I tripped on the way here. Let's turn that into a party. We can do that as a party. Everything can be a party. In Madrid, I saw the statue of the devil. You know, there's a statue of the devil in Madrid. The fallen angel, which that's the devil. I don't know how that would even come up. It's like, who else should we do a statue of? How about the devil? Who invited that guy? No, there's a statue of the devil. In America, we're taking down statues of the Confederacy. And Spain, a Catholic country, there's a statue of the Antichrist. Like, how do you even justify that? Well, you know, the devil, you know, it wasn't all bad. You know, devil did some good things. You know, he went down in Georgia. He did that. And he was an advocate. He was the devil's advocate. And don't forget about those deviled eggs. Those are tasty. I went and I saw it, and the statue of the devil is 666 meters above sea level. I'm sure that's a coincidence. Hello, we're all gonna die. Like, wow, why? It's like, how tall should we make the devil statue? 666. Well, if you feel that strongly about it, should we go with a fountain of blood? Just kidding. Yeah, I was gonna say we can do a fountain. I don't know where we get the blood. I'll provide the blood. The blood of virgins. Sorry, I don't know what possessed me. But of course, nothing is quite as fascinating as the caganer, right? The caganer. If you don't know, the caganer is a little figurine of a guy squatting and doing his business. And when I say business, I mean the most disgusting idea of business. And behind him is a pile of his business. And the first time I was in Barcelona, I saw like these little figurines in stores, and I was like, ha, that's disgusting. And then I learned later on, those little figurines are part of the nativity scene. What? So in the nativity scene, there is Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus and the three kings and a guy doing an outdoor dump. And eventually, I saw, someone just sent me a photo of seeing the image of the caganer next to the, and I swear one of the kings was holding his gift and looking at the caganer like, that's his gift? You know? Cagatillo, I don't understand that. It's just like, it's almost like Catalonia was like, what else can we do? But we got the caganer, but how about something weird for the kids? Cagatillo, this is gonna sound made up. It all sounds made up. It's like, all right, you know, a log, sticking with the theme, a log that in December kids feed. Okay. They take care of the log during December. They feed it. You know how you can feed a log. And they feed this log, and then on Christmas Day, in the spirit of Jesus' birth, this log that they've taken care of, they beat it. They beat the log and sing a song hoping that the log, I'm not making it up. Like, there's Americans here going, this is not true. And the Catalonians are like, yeah, it's pretty close. They beat the log singing that they want the log to poop out gifts. It's like, you guys don't even need drugs here. You know what I mean? It's like, drugs? We don't need them. We don't need them. Have you seen our holiday traditions? And I love in that song, poop out some gifts, but not sardines. Like, at what point are they writing a song? Don't forget the sardine part. Nobody wants sardines. Nobody wants sardines. You're talking about a log pooping out gifts. Yeah, but you know what? Sardines are gross. It's the sardines, those are gross, right? Fascinating. Fascinating. Of course, a Catholic country here, you know. In Valencia, I saw the Holy Grail. Well, you know, maybe, right? You know, it's possibly the cup that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper, but probably not. And there are supposedly there's 2 other cups that are possibly cups that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper, but probably not. In fact, I have a cup at home that Jesus possibly drank from, but probably not. It's a sippy cup, so it was probably baby Jesus. This guy's a jerk. He's just rude. I don't know. Last time I was in Spain, I had my family with me. I have 5 kids. And one of the advantages of traveling with 5 children is it's very similar to shoveling cash into a furnace. But it was Euro, so the flames were pretty colors. And I had my teenagers with me, which is, they're always nice. They're always pointing out every insecurity you've ever had. Like, hey, Dad, you know you look fat. I do know that, thank you. I do know that. You know you look like a tourist. I do know that, thank you. Because I do, I look like a tourist. And I've always looked like a tourist. Even as a baby, I looked like a tourist. People are like, that baby's a tourist, right? That must be a tourist baby. You know what I mean? And tourist is an ugly word, right? It's an ugly word. Nobody wants to be called a tourist. Tourist sounds like something you'd accuse someone of being. It's like, not only are you sexist and racist, you're a tourist. I am not a tourist. You know I don't see geography. But worldwide, people dislike tourists, right? And everywhere people complain. I love when the Spanish complain about tourists. They're like, I hate those people that come here and spend money so we can have jobs and take the afternoon off. They're the worst. But we all complain about tourists. And we say it's because we think that, we say it because they get in our way. But really, we don't like the idea of someone coming to our town and having fun. How dare they come here and enjoy our services? And people say horrible things about tourists. Horrible things you wouldn't say about any other group of people. And you can say it in front of your most politically correct friend. You're like, we should get rid of all the tourists. And your friend's like, we should kill them all. Well, I don't know about that. As a result, nobody ever wants to look like a tourist. We always want to mix in. We're like, what are the locals doing? I want to do that. They're at work. Can I do that? We do behave strangely as tourists. Like when I was with my family, we visited a bunch of churches. You never do that when you're at home. Never wake up on a Saturday, hey, you want to go check out some churches? Never, no. What if I told you those churches were super old and empty? I still wouldn't want to go. Most of the churches we went in were empty. And, we went in one church and there was a mass going on. That was kind of strange. It was like, hey, I know you're in contemplative prayer, but I'm going to do an Instagram live. So I'll tag you if you want. In New York City, there's a church that went out of business and they turned it into a nightclub, the Limelight. And so that means, I'm sure there are people that walk by and they're like, oh my gosh, that's where my parents got married and where I first tried cocaine. A lot of memories there. Of course, here in Barcelona, the most famous Spanish church, Sagrada Familia, or as I call it, Sangria Familia. Beautiful church, right? Started in the 1800s, still not done. I'm thinking, never gonna be done. After 100 years, I lower my expectations. You guys gonna finish it? Mañana. Don't pressure us. And that's one of Gaudi's masterpieces, right? Gaudi, such a brilliant mind whose approach to architecture was like, make it beautiful, but make it melting. We want the buildings to feel like Spain in August. Here we are on Las Ramblas. Everyone check your wallet. Ramblas, check your wallet. I remember the first time I came to Barcelona, I landed, I took an overnight flight and I checked in my hotel. It was like 7 a.m. I was like kind of wired, so I was like, I'm gonna go walk around. Where's the Ramblas? And the hotel person was like, oh, don't go there. Don't go there. I'm like, well, why? And they're like, oh, very dangerous. A lot of pickpockets. I was like, is it in a different century? Pickpockets, am I gonna run into Oliver Twist? Should I be worried about being guillotined? La Ramblas. And I walked down the Ramblas, and people were very nice. They were, in fact, generous. People coming up to me, offering to sell me drugs. Do you want coke, hash? No, thank you, it's 8 a.m. But, then I would walk back, same people, coke, hash. I'm like, it didn't change my mind. But thanks for checking in. I'm still good on not wanting drugs at 8 a.m. When my family was here, we visited some castles. Everyone loves castles, right? Those romantic, magical structures where dictators used to live. I love how former dictator homes are tourist traps, That's the effect of Disney on top of us. It's like, I'm sure that murderous despot who lived there I'm sure he was all about equal rights. I bet his son was charming. Went on a castle tour, which really means we just paid to walk through a rich guy's house. Because that's all you do on a castle tour, you just walk through. And this one was furnished, so all the king stuff was there. So it felt kind of like a medieval Airbnb. I was like, wow, this is weird. In 300 years, are people gonna pay to walk through Bill Gates' house? Like, oh, look at that, he owned a Mac. Well, that's a surprise. Now you occasionally hear about really wealthy people living in castles. I'd be embarrassed to tell someone I lived in a castle. It's like, oh, where do we live? Well, we looked at apartments in the area, but the castle on the top of the hill? Yeah, we live in it. But we're down to earth. We just have a lot more earth. The wife wanted a moat, Moats, those really disappeared, right? People rarely add moats to their homes anymore. Because I guess there's nothing less neighborly, right? There's putting up a fence and then there's digging a river around your house that says, don't come over. We're not looking for visitors. I don't know, it's very late night culture in Spain, right? I feel like you guys kind of almost brag about it. You're like, oh, we dinner at 11 o'clock. We dinner at midnight. We dinner when you're having breakfast. I'm like, do any of you have jobs here? How do you do that? But everything starts later in Spain. Meals, shows, democracy. Everything starts later, right? Everything starts later. Because, of course, there was the Spanish Civil War, which is a funny topic. No, the Spanish Civil War, and I wanted to learn more about it, so I watched some YouTube videos. And now I understand less. But I do know the fascist one. Franco won, and he ruled over Spain for decades, Franco. And of course, he had a son named James Franco, who directed that movie, The Disaster Artist. But he cast his brother Dave, because Spain's all about family. And Franco, someone told me Franco only had one testicle. I don't know if that's true. You know, I didn't want to Google it. You know, I didn't want to get all those one testicle ads. So, you might be interested in these one testicle underwear. I didn't want that. Supposedly Hitler only had one testicle. Everyone has that friend that brings that up like it explains something. You know, Hitler, he only had one testicle. Oh, that's why he did those horrible things. We gotta keep an eye on Lance Armstrong. I'm sorry, is Lance here? Besides, I can say that joke, because I only have one testicle. Well, from certain angles, you know? That's disgusting. I thought he was the clean comedian. I thought he was. I love the Spanish food. Whenever I travel, I always eat the local specialty. You guys are like, we can tell, Jim. We can totally tell. We can tell. And there's nothing more Spanish than tapas, right? Tapas, which is kind of like Spain sushi. Tapas, which is like, I love how tapas is talked about like an activity. People do tapas, you know, like it's a form of exercise. It's like, you went jogging? I did tapas. Yeah, I did a whole circuit. I'm exhausted. When I was in Madrid, I went to the oldest restaurant called Botín, which is a restaurant that's been open since 1725, and the food tasted like it too. And it's weird, old is not usually an adjective you want to associate with food. It's like, these eggs are from 1,000 years ago. But Botín, I had, and it's all traditional dishes, like I had the suckling pig, which is, you know, obviously it's a baby pig that was torn away from the mother. And then I ate it. I mean, I didn't eat it in front of the mother. You know what I mean? I FaceTimed. I did. I was like, anything look familiar? It didn't happen, everyone. It didn't. This guy's a monster. He is a monster. He's a horrible person, and I don't like him. Spanish breakfast, I had churros con chocolate for breakfast. Like, I know lunch is your meal here, but, you know, breakfast, the ingredients of a candy bar, we're gonna go there? Like, who came up with that? Was that, like, what they ask an 8-year-old? I want fried dough that I can dunk into a cup of chocolate. Now, Timmy, we're gonna give you a little bit. I want a cup of chocolate! Just give him the damn cup of chocolate. Tortilla Española, that was, I don't know how to tell you this, that's an omelet. Not a tortilla. Not a tortilla. I don't know. I would assume that a Spanish person would have met a Mexican by now, but that's not a tortilla. Maybe the Mexicans are so nice they don't want to tell you. Like the Spaniards are like, here's a tortilla española, and the Mexicans are like, bueno. Bueno on the tortilla. That's very good. It's tortilla española. That is an omelet. That's a potato omelet. Even people in Ireland are like, I don't need a potato omelet. No thanks. But tortilla, it's a potato omelet. And, you know, I've eaten a lot of omelets, Jim, we can tell. And, you know, I've never really wanted a potato one. What do you want in your omelet? Potatoes. And is it okay if we call it a burrito? Can we do that? Tortilla española, bocadillo. So there's a tortilla española sandwich. Hey, I love carbs. I do. But there is a threshold where you're like, you know what? I'll have the tortilla española sandwich and the potato omelet sandwich. Can we put some rice on there? I'd love some rice and maybe some pasta. Can we put pasta? Just hear me out. Hear me out. If we put pasta, and then I don't know. I feel like there should be some more in there. This guy's a jerk. But you guys love potatoes. Patata brava. Imagine the bravery involved in putting sauce on potatoes. What kind of man is he? Have you seen how he eats his potatoes? With sauce on them. He is a real man. Now, I would never come to your beautiful country and tell you that gazpacho soup is uncooked tomato soup. I would never do that. Because that's not the type of person I am. I am humbled and gracious, and I wouldn't say someone was too lazy to cook it. I wouldn't say that. This guy's gonna get beat up. I wouldn't even say ole. Like when I was at the flamenco show, occasionally someone would just say ole. They'd be like, ole! Ole! And it was just like random. And obviously it's kind of a cheer. It's like, you know, and I was like, I kind of wanted to say ole. And every now and then someone would look at me and they'd be like, not you. Not you, Gary. You don't get to say ole. My favorite Spanish food obsession is your love of jamon. Oh my gosh, you guys love, I thought I liked ham. You guys are like, jamon, jamon, jamon. And you kind of act like you invented it. You're like, you must try this Spanish specialty called jamon. Like, I've tried ham. No, but this is different. It's not. And there's all this there's different types of jamon. This jamon comes from a pig that was only fed acorn. Why would you do that? Like, I've never been eating a ham sandwich and be like, you know what, I wish there was a hint of acorn. Just, honey, do we have any acorn sauce back there? Jamon, jamon, jamon. It's like you guys are making up for the time when the Moors were here, you know? It's like, once we get rid of these Muslims, all we eat will be pork. It will be jamon, 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 jamon. I do love the general discussion of the Moors in Spain. Like, you guys talk about them like they were house guests that overstayed their welcome. Oh, that's when the Moors were here, yeah. Yeah, they left. They were here for a little bit. I think they were here for 800 years. No, they left. They left. I don't know why they left. I think you killed them. I think you killed them and then you tore off their arms. Yes, I remember something like that. I don't know. I know there were questions. I don't know what exactly the questions were. There was an inquisition. I don't know. It's almost like you guys forgot you could eat cows, you know? No, you eat the pig, you fight the cow. Ole. Right? Ole. Ole. Spanish bullfighting, very controversial, right? I've only seen clips on YouTube. And from what I can tell, at the beginning, it looks more like bull avoiding. It's like, ooh, missed me again. Is that how the Spanish fight? They're like, you want to go, bro? You want to go? All right, let me grab my gold suit and my red blankie. And then we're going to dance. And then when you're tired, stab you in the neck. Ole. Ole. Last time I was in Spain, it was during the running with the bulls in Pamplona, which sounds like a form of cancer. Unfortunately, it's a Pamplona. That joke never works, but I always do it, because who doesn't love a good cancer joke? No, there's the running with the bulls every July. First of all, nobody's running with the bulls, all right? The bulls don't turn into jogging partners. People are voluntarily being chased by bulls because they have mental problems. And there's always a couple Americans that run with the bulls, and they interview them the next day in the hospital. I was here on vacation. I heard about this running with the bulls, and I haven't worked out in 20 years. So I had my wife hold my ham on, and I went out there. And I got gored right away. I don't know how you'd even train to run with the bulls. I had my cat chase me for a week. Felt like I was ready after that. You guys fight the bulls, you run with the bulls. Seems odd, but of course in America, we ride the bulls for no reason. Like, why? How bored do you get on a ranch? It's like, you want to play poker again? You know that terrifying bull? What if we took turns riding it? Why don't we just play poker? Last year I performed at a rodeo because I have a really good agent. And I performed at a rodeo, and yes, it was my first rodeo. I love that saying, not my first rodeo, as if the second rodeo is when it makes sense. Oh, now I get it. People are riding animals that want to be left alone. At first I thought, wow, this is an aggressive petting zoo. I performed after the rodeo so I could watch. It was so impressive. It was truly dangerous what these people were doing. And we live in a risk-averse society. It's not uncommon to see a toddler wearing a helmet. And but like at the rodeo, there's no safety meeting. There's no going, all right, fellas, no one wants to see you get hurt. Well, except everyone in the stadium. I don't know. I was watching at one point, and one of the participants came up to me and goes, you do stand-up comedy? I could never do that. That terrifies me. And then I swear to God, he proceeded to climb on a bull. And the world never made sense again. At the rodeo, there's different events, some of them more dangerous, some different skills. Like there's the calf roping, where a guy chases down a calf. You know how cows are super fast. Well, this is a baby cow that a grown man chases down while he's riding a horse, so it's a fair race. And he lassos the calf and he jumps off and he ties it up, and whoever does it fastest is most likely to be a serial killer. But there's nothing that competes with the bull riding. That's the ultimate event at the rodeo, where these guys ride these bulls for up to 8 seconds, which is so impressive, and not just because I can't even gargle that long. I'm like, that scope's spicy, you know what I mean? But they ride a bull, and very rarely do they even get to 8 seconds, but when they do, that's their work day, 8 seconds. That's got to change your perspective on things. Like even waiting for an elevator, you're like, I could have ridden 3 bulls. Yeah. And 8 seconds, it's not that long, especially when you consider like a dead body could ride a bull for like 2 seconds. It's like, you did well, not as good as the corpse, but you did all right. My favorite part of the rodeo was the rodeo clown. I don't know how they convinced someone to do that job. It's like, after the rider's thrown by the furious bull, we need someone to distract, maybe antagonize the 2,400-pound animal. And me and the fellas, we were thinking, you'd be good at that. Me? Would I have protection? You mean like makeup? No, something to protect me from the bull. Now, you wouldn't be out there naked. You'd be dressed like a clown. Why a clown? It would be hysterical. For who? No, we haven't figured everything out yet. Why are they dressed like clowns? Do they think a bull's gonna throw a rider and be like, I'm gonna gore everyone in this? Is that a clown? Is it my birthday? Did you guys get me a clown for my birthday? I didn't even think you guys liked me. Then you go and get me a clown for my birthday.
And last weekend I was in Saskatchewan. That place is filled with perverts. They're all perverts. The capital is Regina? That's not necessary. Regina. They could have pronounced it Regina. They did that on purpose because they're perverts. Everything in Regina sounds sexual. Their football team, the Rough Riders. That's inappropriate. I'm just relieved their mascot wasn't a beaver. You know what I mean? It's not me, it's them. They're perverts. Regina is where the Mounties are, of course. That's where they train the Mounties to mount. Every Mountie has to go through Regina. It's just inappropriate, right? Even the most innocent thing said in Regina comes across wrong. Like, I can't ask, like, hey, where can a guy eat out in Regina? You know? I can't. That's them. I'm a good Christian man trying to find out where a guy can eat out in Regina. Did you know the original name of Regina was Pile of Boners? That's gross. And it's, by the way, it's the whole province. Saskatchewan, that sounds like an STD. My last boyfriend gave me Saskatchewan. Really? Yeah, now I have to take all this penicillin. Saskatchewan. You know, it's because of Saskatchewan that moose antlers are called rack. Now you can't even give a moose a compliment, like, hey, nice rack. You could be like, no, lady, I was talking about the moose. Well, then that lady should know she looks like a moose. I saw a moose. Have you seen him? I saw a moose in person. I mean, or in moose. I'm a person who saw a moose. And I tell you, I don't feel like I was ready. I don't know how big I thought a moose was gonna be, but I was way off. I was way off. It was huge. And I feel like I should have been warned. Like someone should have been like, you might see a moose, get ready. But my friend was like, you might see a moose, have fun. Like it was a butterfly or something. Hopefully you'll see a moose. So I was like in shock when I saw it. I was like, wow, whoa. Are they shooting a Star Wars movie up here? How many people are in that moose costume? At least 3. It was huge. It was the size of like a transformer. It was gigantic. And then my friend was like, don't get close, it'll kill you. What? At that moment, I realized my moose knowledge didn't exist. I knew nothing about moose. Like my moose knowledge, it comes from cartoons. In cartoons, moose are like, hey, how you doing? But in real life, they're like, I'm gonna kill you! How did that translate? Never hear moose in those animal songs, right? The cow goes moo, the cat goes meow, the moose goes, I'm gonna stomp you to death. Did you know that the plural of moose is Reginas? That surprised me. Wasn't ready for that. I performed in Lethbridge, Alberta. Lethbridge. If you don't know anything about Lethbridge, don't feel bad. Neither do people in Lethbridge. I asked them, I was like, hey, what should I know about Lethbridge? And they're like, oh. Is there anything I should know about Lethbridge? Calgary's 2 hours away. Is this like a temporary city? Did everyone just show up a month ago? We got like a bridge. A lot of those Western Canadian cities have a bridge that they tell you about. We got the longest land bridge over a small-ass body of water. I don't know if you should brag about that. That sounds like a mistake. An engineering error. We got a highway with no exits. That might be on purpose, you know. Kitchener, at Schnitzel. Kitchener, or as I refer to it, Berlin. Because Kitchener is very German, right? Any Germans here? Yeah? That's about the extent of German pride. It helps that we're in the dark. I don't want to lose my job. That's worldwide. I was in Vienna, Austria, and they were like insistent that they were not German. We're not German. We're not German. We're totally different. I mean, we speak German. And our, our culture's German, but, and in every war we fought with Germany, but we're not German. I almost believe you. That's But I started my Canadian tour in the Maritimes. I started in Halifax. I landed. The first thing I did is I ate a donair. And the second thing I did was have explosive diarrhea. I should have known something bad was coming. When I walked in, the guy was like, you don't even look drunk. I'm not. Here you go. Did you know that Donair was started by a Turkish immigrant who moved to Halifax and wanted to open a toilet paper company? It's really a beautiful Canadian story. It really is. Those Donairs are amazing. That's that spicy meat with that sweet sauce, which I'm almost positive is just melted ice cream. Oh, the Donair make it cookies and cream. That Donair meat, I still can't find out what it is. It's like, Dancer and Prancer. And Donair and Blitzen. But do you recall the most tasty diarrhea-causing meat of all? It's the Donair. I'm convinced that the Donair was just created so we can digest poutine. Right? Some guy went to the doctor. I had poutine a month ago. The doctor's like, I'm going to prescribe you a Donair. Think it'll work? I'm also going to give you a prescription for a diaper. Very important you put the diaper on before you eat the Donair. There's poutine. Oh my gosh, poutine. At this point, are there any Canadian restaurants that don't serve poutine? I picked one up at, what was it? It was a Booster Juice. It's like, yeah, I had the kale poutine smoothie. It was delicious. Poutine. I know some of you pronounce it poutine, but you're still saying poo. I love poutine, and I eat unhealthy, and some would say I built a career out of eating unhealthy.
But you know, poutine, it's a little irresponsible. I mean, after all, I don't want to die. You know what I mean? It's almost like someone was just trying to make French fries more unhealthy.
Well, what if we cover it in everything that causes heart disease? Let's do it. We have free health care.
In Edmonton, I had pierogi poutine.
Yeah, I had to sign a waiver and everything.
It's the first food I had to provide emergency contact for. It was delicious, but do we need pierogi poutine? Has anyone ever eaten poutine and been like,
You know what this needs? Carbs.
it's fascinating. It started in Quebec, right? And now it's everywhere in Canada. But you know, there was probably a part of Canada that was like, wait a minute, we're as a country, we're going with the French fry thing? Not salmon or beaver tail? All right, I guess that's better than syrup. Did you know that poutine in French means Vladimir Putin? I'm just saying. I love how poutine is different in different provinces. Like, you know, or in Ottawa, there's the squeaky cheese that goes on the poutine, right? There's the squeaky cheese. The first time I performed in Ottawa, it was in April during a poutine fest. And I learned later on it was the second poutine fest of the year. Which means sometime in January or February, someone was at a poutine fest and they were like, why don't we do this next month? Like if it happens every month, that's not a festival. That's a habit. Last time I was in Ottawa, it was during Winterlude. Winterlude, you know, of course, it's an outdoor festival in February. Okay. You know, in America, when there's horrible weather, we cancel events. You guys kind of plan around them. Hey, you know, it's the coldest month of the year. What if we had a party outside?
Why would we do that?
It could be like an interlude between the poutine fests. I have to admit, I'm a little disappointed by the number of Tim Hortons in town. There's some, but you go to some cities in Canada, and the number of Tim Hortons is uncomfortable. Like you drive by the fifth one, and you're like, is this a Tim Hortons theme park? Are we sure they're only selling coffee and donuts? Canadians, you guys are always like, that's our Dunkin' Donuts. That's our Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, in America, we don't have Dunkin' Donuts on every block. Tim Hortons is like America's stop sign. Now I've seen some Tim Hortons in America, and whenever I see a Tim Hortons in America, I always have the same thought. Don't force your culture on us. But you wouldn't know how that feels. Last week, I went to a Canadian Tire store. I don't want to brag. I was kind of surprised to find out they sell more than tires. I don't know why I would think they only sell tires. It's not like the store is called Canadian Tire. How important are tires to you people? You know how people love shopping for tires? We lure them in with the tires. And then, boom, we sell them a blender. Nobody in Canada even sounds like that guy. Of course, there are differences between Canada and America. It's not just healthcare and bacon. Your airport codes make no sense. And I love how you're so proud of them. YW pound sign representing, yeah.
We're YW Pouncing. It's weird. Toronto, YYZ. I don't know why. Well, it makes sense. Y is, why not? And then Y, the second Y is like, why are you asking? And then the Z is like, see you later.
This guy's a jerk.
Of course, Canada is the home of the Caesar cocktail. The Caesar cocktail, you're very proud of that. Which is, Caesar is kind of like a Bloody Mary, but with clam juice. Clam juice, wow, I didn't know that was an ingredient. Or a liquid.
You know that thing from the ocean that looks like a snot? What if we made it into a juice? Think about it. Say you just went jogging, all right? You're parched, you're thirsty. I hand you a tall glass of clam juice. You chug it. And then we're ready to go to the club.
He has never met a Canadian before.
It has nothing to do with it. The Caesar was created in Calgary, landlocked Calgary, which has the finest clams. I just love how Canadians, like, complain about the Bloody Mary. You're like, oh, the Bloody Mary. Oh, that's so disgusting. That drink that doesn't have clam juice in it. The clam, We're having an election in America, so there's bound to be some Americans that threaten to move to Canada. If that person gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. I don't remember Canada extending an invitation. It's like... And I've been coming to Canada for years. Been recruited 0 times.
No one's ever gone to me, hey, you live in the States? You ever thought of making a move? How you feel about clam juice?
He better stop with the clam jokes. It's getting too much.
In my hotel, there is a youth hockey team staying there. There is a youth hockey team staying in every Canadian hotel. Are they allowed to go home? How long are these tournaments? Every time I'm in an elevator in a Canadian hotel, I feel like someone in the other room's like, send in the kids with the smelly hockey bags. There's not enough room. Just do it. Tell them we'll give them clam juice.
That better be the last clam juice, Joe. But of course, the youth hockey league, that's all about the Canadian hockey dream, right? Parents drive their children all around Canada because there's the dream that maybe their child might be, just by chance, maybe the next Wayne Gretzky, right? And I'm here to tell you, it's probably not. There's only one great one, and I think he lives in Phoenix. Let's kill him.
I remember the first time I came to Canada, the big difference I noticed was that things are measured differently, right? Temperature and distance. And I remember at the time being like, well, that's annoying. And then eventually I realized it wasn't just Canada, it was the entire world that uses the metric system, except for us. And I tell you, it was strange as an American to realize every other country on the planet was wrong. Right? It should change for us, because we all know God loves America more.
And that love is measured in feet. Now, here's how I can tell the way Americans measure things is annoying. Because occasionally you'll run into a British person who will announce their weight in stones. I'm nearly 12 stone. I'm sorry, are you a caveman?
Me equals 12 rock. Me is tallest and log.
How do the English say stone with a straight face? It's like, how do you condescend to the entire world when you're weighing yourself in boulders? We're going to leave the EU and return to our pebble economy. I do love doing international shows. It's different with Trump as president. I know you guys are all fans of his. But no, it's different with Trump as president. It's kind of like having a parent that's an alcoholic. Show up in a country, you're like, sorry about my dad. Trying to get the phone from him. Proving harder than we thought. I find Canadians are the least fazed by Trump. Because, you know, within the world, you know, it's like, because Canadians, you know, Trump is just an exaggeration of the American stereotype. You know, Americans are known as obnoxious. Trump is just turning up the dial, right? That's the American stereotype, obnoxious. The Canadian stereotype, polite, which is not a stereotype, it's a compliment. But you guys still get angry. You're like,
We're not polite, we're passive aggressive.
but what you don't realize, to an American, passive-aggressive is polite. But everything about Canada is pleasant. Even the Canadian flag. Most national flags have all these macho symbols like Mexico's an eagle eating a snake, America's stars and stripes, and Canada's just like, just put a leaf out there. One for every province. Just one maple leaf. As a result, everyone likes Canadians. Everyone likes Canadians, you know. Not liking Canadians is an indication of a mental problem.
I like Canadians are puppies.
Remember when China was mad at Canada? The whole world was like, come on, China. That's a red flag. With the star in the middle. How many flag jokes? I do feel like the map of Canada looks unfinished. It's so detailed on the East Coast, and then it's just wide open spaces. It's almost like someone was working on it and they fell asleep. And his boss comes over and is like, are you done? What? Yeah, I just gotta put some names in Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. Oh, so much land. Newfoundland. The boss is like, are you done? Yeah, I'm done. Columbia, that's a country, all right. British Columbia. I've been to British Columbia. It's not very British or Colombian. Vancouver was like a rainy Seattle. Spent a week in Vancouver. Somehow it rained for 2 weeks. Well, you guys had fun naming things Vancouver out there in British Columbia.
Vancouver Island, Vancouver City, which is not on Vancouver Island, North Vancouver, West Vancouver, South Vancouver, Washington State, you can have a Vancouver. Everyone gets a Vancouver. Everyone gets one.
It does appear you guys struggled with naming things a little bit. It's like Regina, Moose Jaw. Do you want people to go these places? And then, of course, there's the St. John's fiasco. St. John, New Brunswick, and then right next to it, St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm saying this like you don't know.
We know! We live here, we know!
But what, it never came up? Nobody took a boat from one place to the other.
Hey, that other place has the same name as this place.
Nobody confronted Newfoundland like, hey, Newfoundland, St. John, New Brunswick is the oldest city in Canada, so don't use that name. And Newfoundland's like, okay. Oh, shoot. Well, what happened? No, that is different. It's different. Our capital, St. John's. That's the same name. No, it's different. You spell out Saint, and ours is just ST, so it could stand for street. Does yours stand for street? No, it stands for Saint. But ours ends with an apostrophe S, so it's possessive. So, like, when St. John comes back, he's gonna be like, where do I go? He's gonna go to the Virgin Islands, who are we kidding? I think it's fascinating that there's a part of Canada called the Northwest Territories. Still, today, I wasn't looking at a map from the 1600s or watching an episode of Deadwood. Name your country. Northwest, there are people that live there. What kind of civic pride? Well, where we're from in the Northwest Territories, or as we call ourselves, the Northwest Territorians. Go Terror, How dismissive. It's like the Northwest Territories. Can we be a province? No. You may not. How about a territory or a yard? How about Northwest Storage Area? Of course, the Northwest Territories are smaller because in the 90s, the Inuit people were like, we'd like our own territories. And the Canadian government was like, oh, we didn't even know people lived there. Sure. What do you want your territories to be called? We'd like, none of it. Are you gonna tell them, or? It's a great name. Great name, none of it, love it. Sorry for stealing all the land. Anyway, we got a hockey game we're watching, so. I think it's strange. Like, Canada, it starts off normal. The further east you go, the crazier it gets. Like, Newfoundland is like, bam, 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 bam. Newfoundland is like the crazy uncle that you don't introduce to friends until you've known them for a long time. Like, I don't want them to think I'm like that. Everything is crazy in Newfoundland. Everything. It's like, in Newfoundland, what time zones? Do you want to be in the same time zone as the Maritimes? We'll go a half hour earlier. Worldwide, time zones are done by the hour. We'll go half hour. Just final housekeeping here. Is Newfoundland 3 words or 2 words? 1 word. Thank you very much. Thank you. Because Canada starts off pretty normal on the West Coast. British Columbia, it's like beautiful natural resources. They shoot TV shows and movies there. That's like your California, right? And then there's Alberta, where it's like oil and cowboys. That's like your Texas. And then there's Saskatchewan, which we've established are all perverts. Looks like I'm not performing in Saskatchewan again. And then there's Manitoba, which Manitoba is like that friend you invite last to the party. And only because you forgot they existed. Canada picks on Winnipeg, right? That was kind of a big, I remember I was in Toronto and I was going to Winnipeg and it was my first show there and everyone in Toronto was like, bring a coat! Winnipeg! Hope you like cold weather. I'm not sleeping outside. Then I got to Winnipeg and I was like, oh, they're right. They're right. They nailed it. I went to Winnipeg in February. Well, that's when you want to go. It was 50 below. 50! By the way, at that point, it doesn't matter if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. It's kind of like hell. It's just bad. And you forget how cold it is. You forget how cold it is, and then you step outside, and you're like, oh! And that's why your national anthem starts that way. It's like, oh, Canada. I convince half of you don't know the rest of the words. It's like, oh, Canada, the pipes are calling. I'm glad to glad. People were so nice in Winnipeg. It was freezing. And they kept apologizing for the weather. They're like, sorry it's so cold, sorry it's so cold. I was like, I'm almost positive it's not your fault. But they kept apologizing. Sorry about the weather. Eventually I was like, did you not pay a bill or something? Does weather work different up here? I was in Winnipeg for 2 days. Kept running into people from the Philippines. I learned later on a lot of people from the Philippines have immigrated to Winnipeg. I know nothing about the Philippines except for that it's a tropical paradise, which Winnipeg is not. Which brings up the question, how bad are things in the Philippines? If you're moving to Winnipeg. You really want to move? I gotta get out of here. Would you move to a place where you can't go outside? I'll go. All right, grab your flip-flops. Let's go. I can say that joke because I'm from the Philippines. It's Manitoba, and then you go east, and then there's Ontario, right? Ontario. There's that province pride. Ontario, and then there's Quebec. Ontario and Quebec, those are like the two brothers that run the family business after the parents died. But they had different mothers. Right? Ontario's like, I'll handle this. Quebec is like, you are so idiot. Quebec is so fascinating. It's like Canada's slightly different, then it gets to Quebec and it's like, different language. What? There's 6 million it's a French-speaking province. Or a francophone. That's what you guys, are you francophone or anglophone? Like they're competing cellular companies. Are you on the francophone family plan? Thinking of switching to the anglophone. But that's got to be hard for the Quebecois, right? I mean, they're Canadian, which by definition is almost polite, but they're also French. Talk about a contradiction, right? It's like, I want to apologize for everything, but I'm better than everyone. I am sorry you're so dumb. Spent some time in Quebec. I love Quebec. My favorite part of the Quebecois culture is the curse words. The curse words in Quebec are just Catholic objects in French. Tabernacle. Hostie. They're just saying nouns. It's like, you're a chair. Well, then you're a table. Fellas, there's children present. East of Quebec is New Brunswick, right? New Brunswick in the Maritimes, that's the home of the Acadians, right? The Acadians, those noble, brave people that the English kicked out of during the Great Expulsion. They kicked them out of the Maritimes and they sent some of them to Louisiana, some of them to the West Indies, and a brave amount of few fought their way back to return to the coldest place on earth. But there's like 1 million French speakers in New Brunswick, so there's there's 1 in 5 Canadians speaks French. So there was this great compromise where the English speakers agreed to take French in school, and the French speakers agreed to continue speaking French. Of course, there are Canadians who speak English and French, and they're called flight attendants. Whenever I'm on an Air Canada flight, I'm always like, oh, good, now I can ignore the same message twice.
Jim, you're a jerk.
I suppose the most famous Canadian right now is Drake, right? I saw Drake in concert a couple months ago. I bet you wouldn't even think I would be friends with Drake, but guess what? I'm not. But I did see Drake in concert. I had 2 shows in Las Vegas in the same night, and after the second show, the promoter came up to me and he goes, hey, Jim, Drake is doing a special show here in a nightclub in the casino. Would you like to go and feel uncomfortable? And I just finished my second show. It was like 11:30, and I was like, you know what? I want to go. You know, I might not be a Drake expert, but, you know, I have friends that like Drake. Well, my 6-year-old Patrick likes Drake. So I want to impress Patrick. So the promoter took Ted and I, and he escorted us through the casino to the nightclub where all these Drake fans were waiting to go in. They all looked at me like, oh my gosh, there's Drake's accountant. And they brought us in the club and set us up at a table, and they got us drinks and everything. And they're like, do you need anything else? And I was like, when does Drake go on? And they're like, 2:30. And I was like, cool, can I get a wake-up call? Because it was probably midnight at this point. So I had to decide, do I wait 2.5 hours to see one of the biggest musicians of today, who I personally knew one of his songs? Or do I go back to my room and sleep? And I just figured, God's plan, right? God's plan. So I spent the next 2.5 hours hanging around these drunk Drake fans, trying to stay awake. After an hour, I realized Drake is just a combination of the words drunk and awake. Drake. $2:30 finally came. No Drake. Around 2:45, I was like, did Drake pick up a shift at Tim Hortons? Drake finally went on at 3 a.m. I don't know, maybe he slept in. 3 a.m. You know, like, if you're even out at 3 a.m., you've made a couple bad decisions. That's when Drake starts work. And I work at night. I like working at night. And generally, the later a job starts, the more appealing. But 3 a.m., Drake might as well be hosting the Today Show. He could fill in for Savannah Guthrie. Drake did an hour show. He performed from 3 to 4. I learned later on he was paid $2 million for that 1 hour of work, so we make the same. The show ended at 4, and I started walking back to my room. 4 a.m. in Vegas, which is 7 a.m. here on the East Coast, and I live in New York, and so it's like 7 a.m. in New York and 9:13 in Newfoundland. When I was walking back, I was like, you know, it's 7 a.m. and I should just call home. So I called home, my wife answered, and she was like, what are you doing awake? And I'm like, it's a long story. Is Patrick, our 6-year-old, is he awake? And she put Patrick on the phone, and I'm like, Patrick, you're not gonna believe who I just saw in concert. I saw Drake. And Patrick said, who's Drake? So it's worth it, it's totally worth it. All right, that is all for me. Thank you so much for coming.